Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new show. That's right. If you're listening to this, you are obviously know that PG 3600 is over. But
Yep.
now that that season is over, we have officially started our brand new show,
Da, 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 da.
and it's all about movies.
Movies.
Yes. But joining me is,
Hey, it's Josh. What's
and
up?
we are going on a magical movie ride.
Yeah.
In the wonder. Movies is something that we both really, really enjoy. We like
Oh, yeah.
dissecting them, understanding them a little bit more than the average person does.
Yeah.
And
I like quoting them quite
yeah,
a bit.
exactly, which we'll get to. But in our first season, because just like how PG 3600 has now turned into seasons, season 2 is over for that. But we are starting season 1 of our movie podcast right here, and all about movies. And it's a big one.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really crazy season because it is the Predator and Alien franchises. We're going to do them both in one season.
Yeah. Like our seasons are going to be themed, so it's going
Yeah.
to be essentially like every season. Like this time is going to be the Predator Alien universe, and then maybe next time we'll do like Disney cartoons or maybe like space movies or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
but if
know.
you got suggestions, go ahead. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave in the comment section below. If you're listening to the audio version over on iTunes for Apple listeners and for Podbean for Android listeners, you guys can go over to the YouTube channel and go ahead and just leave your comments over there for anything specific about this episode, which in this episode we're going to be talking about the movie Predator.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is
1987.
yes, the 1987 Predator movie. And if you have comments about it or some famous stuff that you know from the movie and fun stuff you like about the movie, you can leave comments there.
Yeah, and if you've never seen it, spoiler warning.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you've never seen it, you need to go and watch it,
Yeah,
and then you
you're
can
only-
come back to this. That's
You're like
another
30
thing.
years behind.
Yeah, but that's another thing is that if you guys if you guys want to keep tabs on what we are going to be watching, in the beginning, we're obviously going to tell you what one we are going to we just watched, and then at the end we will tell you what is the next movie on the docket as well, so you guys can go
Yeah.
watch that and then come back for the next episode. So in this one is the 1987 film Predator.
Yeah.
There is just, I think the best way, because you took some notes, I took some notes,
Yes.
so I think what we're gonna do is we'll just run. We'll go boing boing, like you,
Okay, yeah.
me, you,
Just
me.
kind of talking points.
Yeah,
and bring up
of
some stuff.
of the notes that we did, and then maybe I can maybe I'll look up some fun facts about the movie.
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah. That I already know.
Oh, you do know
One fun fact about it, just off the top of my head, that Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to play the Predator, but
The Predator.
yeah, but
Wow.
because when he was on the set, he found out, oh, I'm supposed to be in a costume and a mask. No, I'm not gonna do that, and
Oh
then
my
he quit the
gosh.
movie. So then they ended up getting, I want to say the dude who played Chewbacca, maybe, but I'm probably wrong about
Okay.
that.
Well, I'll look up some IMDb facts a little bit later. Which, but anyway, so do you want to go first on
Oh,
your movie note?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Essentially, so I just started out. So, like, the opening is like a pretty cool space opening. You just see a spaceship and it's flying by Earth, and then a little ship flies into Earth's atmosphere. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, cool, like the space stuff. And then it just cuts from that and goes to Arnold in a chopper with all of his
Yeah.
crew, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, what? Like,
Yeah.
that's just kind of an abrupt change, but okay, But I always like that. I always like the cool space, the space intro or whatever. But the main thing that I wrote for the intro is I just think it's really awesome because there's all these just like 80s action and like muscle men who
Yeah,
are in this
yeah.
movie. You got Jesse the Body Ventura, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger, you got Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers, and then there's like a couple other dudes who I don't know necessarily like what they've been in other movies or whatever. And then Shane Black, who's the guy who's wearing the glasses in the movie, he's the one who wrote the film.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Fun
so,
fact.
yeah, and so he's in the movie too, and then they just all basically play these like hardcore macho 80s like army dudes, and then Jesse the Body Ventura is like oh, I'm a sexual tyrannosaur.
Yeah, where he's talking about he's trying to offer chew to people,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Come on," he goes, and they're like, "Nah, man." He goes, "This stuff makes me a sexual tyrannosaurus," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, so the intro is really great, and then I guess just as far as like that, the last part of the intro is just when he's like, oh, like who made the call or whatever, or who suggested us, and then Dylan, who's played by Carl Weathers, is in the back. He's like, because some damn fool accused you of being the best, and then as Arnold walks up, he's like, Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Yeah,
and they
I have that.
give the most hardcore.
Well, that's where
like,
that meme came from.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
meme of
yeah.
just the two arms like
Yeah.
grasped together.
I love
That's
it.
from Predator.
Yeah.
And it's just man.
And it's like the most manly handshake I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. No, there's another quotable line is when they're all in the helicopter. I know we're kind of jumping around, but we're kind of going in order.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I'm just kind of talking about the beginning.
So,
I guess.
when they're in the helicopter and that guy with the glasses, he makes all those jokes.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, he goes, I was talking to I was talking to my girl the other day, and I was like, hey, I want a little pussy. And she said to me too, or mine is as big as a house.
Yeah.
And then no one laughs at his joke. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
because he was telling Billy that joke.
Yeah,
and
and
Billy's,
Billy didn't even laugh.
Yeah, and Billy's this really cool, badass, like Native American tracker, and he's all stoic, and he's like not afraid of anything.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I'll do one more, and then you can go back to one of your bullet points.
Okay.
Is that I also wrote down time markers. So just in case you guys liked that.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but I was like, that's too much work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was sort of. But like Predator shows up around the 18-minute mark, and this is his heat vision. So we see Predator's heat. We see first person view of his heat vision for the first time around the 18-minute mark. So, which is what I like about this movie. Unlike a lot of like monster movies, Predator literally shows up within the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and
I mean, you don't see him, but he's there.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. His reveal is so spot on because first you see through his eyes just what he sees, and then later on you see him essentially like.
I do have those other ones too. Do
oh,
we want
okay.
to get there first?
Yeah, I guess we can go
work
through it,
way,
but the initial like Predator reveal is just like, oh, there's something watching them from the trees, and it's using like heat vision to
and you don't even know
recognize them.
Yeah, like if you've never even seen the movie, you'd be like, okay, so what is this? Like now I'm looking through heat vision,
is somebody watching them through like thermal binoculars or something, because they're going through the jungle on a covert operation to essentially save some people from a downed helicopter, and it's well, I guess we'll get to some of that too a little bit later because I did make some points about that, but yeah, so essentially, like as they're walking through the jungle, Billy, who is that Native American dude, he's like their tracker, and so he finds out there's like a bunch of footprints, and he's like, oh yeah, there's all these like rebels, and then there's some people in American boots tracking them along or whatever, and they're trying to find him, and then he ends up running into like 4 skinned bodies that were just hanging up,
in a helicopter,
down.
There was some in the helicopter.
That's right, yeah, they found the helicopter first. Which I thought was really funny because I wrote here it was they find the choppa because I thought because I thought that was funny, and then the dude's name is General Hopper, so then Schwarzenegger's like General Hopper, and it's like they did that on purpose,
General Hopper and the choppa.
Yeah, exactly, and so I thought that was pretty funny, but yeah, so they find the chopper first, find some dead people in there, and then they find all these skinned bodies that are just like hanging up, and then I think that's when the Predator is like essentially watching them from the trees. He's kind of like watching them do their thing. Yeah, and
one thing that I really did like, this isn't really like in timeline sense, but like just something I wrote down was the 80s sound effects.
Oh,
not only just the music. First off, the music is like, I don't know who made the music. I might have to look that up.
The song when they're on the chopper going into the jungle, the "Oh baby."
Oh, okay, well that's a pretty famous song, but like
good.
all the other like cinematic songs like almost make it seem like a Star Wars movie. How like John Williams like
the
but then they have like 80 sound effects. I don't know if you know what that means, but like the guns are like the like it's just this it's just this like loud like clang 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 clang. like I don't know who was in charge of the Foley like things, but anytime a gun was shot off, it sounded like someone was like shooting just tubes out of
Yeah.
like this. Thump, thump,
And,
thump,
and the
thump.
explosions are like really over the top.
Yeah.
just like, you know.
But that kind of also segues into like that scene of I don't know if you have anything before this, so if you do, stop me.
The only thing I had was a good quote by Mac when Carl Weathers' character, they're going through the jungle trying to find out who basically skinned these people. They're not sure. And then he slips and falls, and then Matt comes up to him. He says something. I didn't catch the beginning part. I just like the last part, though. He's like, I'll bleed you good, real quiet, and leave you here. Got that?
Oh, yeah. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you lieutenant is.
Yeah.
I'll cut you good and bleed you dry.
I love Mac. He's a great character.
Yeah, so then a little bit later, they start going, and they find, like, the guerrilla camp, the guerrilla war camp. And they all start just wreaking havoc on this whole thing.
Yes.
But one of my favorite lines from the movie is from Arnold, where he takes the machete, he throws it at the guy, and he's like, "Stick around," and he
dude,
walks out of frame, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
And that's I wrote that down too because I thought that was pretty funny. Because he also like breaks through that door in the next scene. He's like, knock knock.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, he does 2 puns in a row. Like,
stick around.
So awesome, dude! They decimate that village.
No,
like,
it's
absolutely
pretty bad.
destroy it. And it's so great too because this is the pinnacle of '80s action Arnold, where he goes up to a truck that's like running some belt to a generator, cuts the belt in half, and then just lifts the truck up and lets it go, and it just flies through the village. And then the dude who gets in it to try to stop it, he just and then it blows up an entire hut that has there's like no explosion or no explosives like in there. You would think, but. Okay, I guess a straw hut catches fire pretty easy. So, but yeah, they're just decimating that village, just destroying people and firing guns that sound like toys. You know.
So before we leave the village, I still have a few things about the village. Do you have anything about the village?
I heard Carl Weathers say something, and it sounded like he went targets at the center of falafel, but I don't.
Falafel?
I
don't think that's what he said.
But then I was like, falafel sounds kind of good. Like, but that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite lines also comes from Jesse the Body Ventura, where he gets shot and he's like, "Hey, you're bleeding. You should stop that." And he goes, "I ain't got time to bleed."
Yeah, and then the dude's like, "Oh, okay.
Okay, well, we need to go."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
You got time to duck?
Also, from that scene, I also noticed every gun looks like it could be held by a Halo Spartan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those guns are like 10 feet long, and they've all got grenade launchers. And I think, it's like, especially Jesse the Body Ventura's gun, because he's got one of those like hardcore chain mini guns, and he calls it Old Painless.
Oh, that's right.
Come on, to Old Painless. It's so great. And then it was funny too, because this is when they meet the character.
The girl.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but basically the girl, the damsel in distress, essentially. And
she was an enemy at first,
right? Like,
and then Carl decided to keep.
Because she snuck up on Arnold with a gun, and he conveniently only knocks her out instead of shooting her like he did with everybody else. But plot armor a little bit, I guess. They had to introduce her character somehow.
He stopped because she was a woman. That was because he felt weird killing a girl. Because then he realized like this was the moment when he started realizing like, why are we here? Because like, why is she here? And then he turned to Dylan, the character Dylan, which played by Carl Weathers, right? Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, "Why are we here? Why did you like this and that?" Because now he's questioning like, "Why is there her? Why is she here? And what is this?" Yeah. And then he explains like, "Oh, there was no other like."
Yeah, we've just been looking for these guys and blah blah blah. And I lied to you about because not Dylan, but Dutch, who's Arnold's character. His crew, they're not like assassins. They're a covert rescue op, and so they don't go in.
Yeah, they're essentially black ops.
Yeah, and so he's like, oh, I don't play that way or whatever. I don't go in and like kill people or assassinate people, and so Dylan lied to him and had him come to this jungle to basically find this guerrilla camp.
Yeah, Dylan did. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because Dutch is the...
Yeah, that's right. They both started with D's. That's what confused me there for a second.
And then, so essentially, like, Dutch is pissed, and Dylan's all like, oh, yeah, I had to lie to you because I knew you were the only ones that could get it done, because that group of pilots that went into the jungle before, they're all dead. So, and they found a couple hostages at the camp, but they were both dead already. Well, one of them gets killed when they get there, but they're both dead by the time the whole massacre is over at the village. So they don't really have any hostages save for this girl who Carl Weathers decides to take because he's like, oh, she could have valuable information, so let's keep her.
Yeah.
And then she becomes kind of his responsibility at first.
Fine, then you keep track of her.
Yeah. She's your baggage.
She's your baggage. That's right. Another thing I have was when they were like, after that part, there was like some really cool trumpet jump cuts. Like there in the music, there was some. I can't.
Oh, okay.
Can't really remember specifics because I watched it a couple days ago.
Mhm.
But like, where there was some like, whenever they would do the bum bum bum, and they would like cut. They do a jump cut to another scene.
Okay.
Jump cut to another thing. Jump cut.
It was like good. Like,
Yeah, but it was
timed with the
really good,
musical cues
so,
really well.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that one if you watch it.
Yeah, and then like right after they get done, this is another. So you see another predator vision, and
Yep, I got this part too.
and this time he's like essentially learning the language. Like they're all talking to each other, and then and then Mac, like Dylan's walking away, and Mac's like, yeah.
This is
like,
before they leave the village.
Yes, yeah.
Is when this part happens.
Yeah, because they're getting ready to take off because I guess they got some intel that guerrillas are all around them, so they got to take off and go to the rendezvous point essentially. And so Mac like starts talking to Dylan, and he starts whispering. He's like, over here, like turn around, and so all this and that, and it's like kind of like a fake out kind of thing, because he looks like he's gonna stab him, but really he's like stabbing a scorpion on his shoulder.
Yeah, yeah.
But Predator's up in the trees watching, and he's like absorbing this whole language and like programming it into his mask or his computer or whatever, because you can see little lines and all the stuff, and he's like syncing up the voice so he can say it. And then Mac crushes the scorpion on a box, and then Predator ends up walking up, and he like picks it up, and he's all looking at it in his hand. You see he's got this like crazy claw hand, and it's like, ooh, there's your second reveal.
Yeah.
Like he's not human, he's got this crazy claw hand. So what is he, a monster, or is he like, well, obviously he's a space alien because you see the spaceship, and if you put two and two together, but and then just one last thing right there is and then you got your second pussy joke. So,
he does. I didn't write this one down, but yes.
Okay, yeah, because this is my favorite one of the two.
I was gonna write it down, but I already wrote the first one down. So
because the one dude goes up to Billy again, and he's like, hey Billy, I was going down on my girlfriend last night, and I was like, gee, you got a big pussy. Gee, you got a big pussy. And she's like, why'd you say it twice? And I'm like, I didn't.
And then Billy starts
because he's like, the echo. And then Billy does this crazy laugh. And then the Predator ends up
before we
well, I think because he's watching him laugh, and then it's like, it's still doing the little line things or whatever. So he's like, oh, the laugh,
Yeah.
But I wrote Billy's laugh as like just a note.
Yeah.
Ominous Predator POV.
So then at the 42-minute mark, we see Invisible Predator.
Oh, okay.
Also,
yeah,
this is the first kill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I put. It was right after the girl tried to escape, because she was trying
and
to
this
get
is glasses.
Yeah.
Glasses.
He's
He's the first guy.
Yeah, the dude who
dies.
told the pussy jokes. He's the first death.
Unfortunately, there will be no longer pussy jokes at this point.
And that's the writer who wrote the movie.
Yeah.
So he ended up probably killing himself early in the movie. So he could probably. I think he might have directed it too.
We'll see.
Yeah, Shane Black, if you want to know who it is.
This is also one of the coolest shots I've ever seen to like reveal how bad the Predator is.
Oh.
There's a shot of Arnold, right?
Mm-hmm.
From he's facing on the camera, he's facing to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're seeing his profile, and then he turns straight on away from the camera and walks into the woods or into the forest, and then the camera slowly starts to pan up, and you start seeing like more blood and more blood and more blood, and then finally you get to the first body. And I was like, oh man, it's so cool.
And they walk right past it, don't even find him.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, because I put walk past his gutted corpse.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, we end up getting our second death.
Yeah, 47-minute mark.
Yeah, it was
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah, really quick. Yeah, his character I think was named Blaine or something like that.
Yeah, as soon as I see him, I'm like, I can't call you.
Yeah, and so
I don't got time. I don't got time to bleed.
Yeah, come on, old painless. This is when we discover, because essentially in the beginning of the movie they're talking about how the helicopter looks like it's been just completely fried and like wiped
The
out. And
the crashed one they found in the trees
Yes.
for the first time. Yes.
yeah, and they're thinking it's like some kind of heat-seeking missile or something like that. And then so this is where another reveal happens where you see the Predator's arsenal. And so you catch a quick glimpse of him, I think, and then you see a laser beam essentially fire from the Predator through Jesse the Body Ventura's
Yeah.
chest, just completely blows his chest
Yeah,
open.
yeah,
It
it's fully cauterized
Yeah.
and everything. It's as if someone took like punched his stomach out and
Yeah,
just big
his
circle
stomach
around him.
plug was on the ground.
Exactly.
It kind of reminded me of that. If you've seen the 2014 Godzilla movie, where there's that hole through the building, because Godzilla like jumps through a building, I think in that one,
Okay.
or in the trailer at least. There's just this big hole in a building. It kind of reminded me of that. It was like the same shape and stuff. And so that was Mac's friend. So he was when Mac saw him like dead, he freaked out and just started shooting into the woods. And
this is where all of those like
Yeah.
gun sound effects
oh my god,
all come into play for
Just-
like the next like 3 to 4 minutes
Yeah.
of just blowing this like
Yeah.
side of of all these trees through.
yeah, like it was pretty crazy because Mac starts shooting with his gun. When his gun runs out of ammo, he picks
Which
up,
is Jesse the Body Ventura's old gun.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
he picks up his gun
Yeah.
after Mac runs out of ammo in his little like minigun or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he picks that gun up and just starts like firing into the trees. Yeah, and then everybody else shows up and they just start launching grenades. They're firing their AK-47s and M4s and all kinds of guns. They're just shooting into the woods. Trees are flying, leaves are being blown apart and all that. And then you do see the Predator running away right at first, and then he does get hit because you see a little bit of his blood splash onto the leaf. And I put he bleeds. What was it?
Hold on, if you get to the quote, hold on for a second, because I have the quote.
Oh well, no, I just put he bleeds glow stick.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it
Bleeds
glows.
glow stick.
Yeah, because
Okay,
it's
I'm
like
sure
that,
that's exactly what that is.
Probably, yeah. It's that luminescent green glowy stuff, like when you snap a glow stick. But yeah, I didn't write down the quote for the. I think I know what quote you're talking
yeah,
about.
because at the 53-minute mark, Predator turns uninvisible. Like he turns visible, I guess, because invisible, but uninvisible. Anyway, we see that he turns uninvisible, but it doesn't show him yet.
Oh, okay.
He's just looking because he got shot.
This
so
was
so
the
he
coolest
did
part
that.
of the movie to me. I love this whole scene in the movie.
Where he like heals himself. Okay,
it's my favorite scene in the movie because initially it's like him turning he becomes visible, and then he's going through this little like his little thing pops off the side of his leg, and he's going through all this stuff, and you see him like putting this powder on his injury.
Oh, and then he goes.
Yeah, and he like squirts this stuff, and then he gets this little clamp to squeeze out the bullet, I think is what it is.
Wow.
And he clamps it shut, and then he's just like, he freaks out, and everybody's like, what the hell?
Yeah. There was I have 2 other notes here just before we finish that part, is that everyone is sweating profusely in this whole entire movie,
Oh my
especially
God.
Mac.
Yeah,
Oh
dude,
my
he's
gosh.
like covered in like a layer of oil.
It's just, but it's all sweat. It's just
Yeah.
everyone is sweating because I don't know where they filmed this thing at, but it's like it's just so hot.
Yeah, it's in a jungle somewhere.
Yeah, because it's supposed to take place in like the in Colombia, right?
I think so.
Is
Yeah,
where they're at.
because they were saying it was somewhere in Central America.
Yeah, yeah. So, but then there's the quote, which is the girl says like because they were all questioning like, whoa, how did we not even hit him? Like, how is he not dead? Like, whatever, we should have killed him and this and that. And then the
Right.
girl says, you know, something about how she saw the blood and wiped it in and this and that. And then Arnold turns around and says like, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like-
yeah. Well, because that actually took place just a little bit after. Okay, so there's this one part because I wrote a quote down before that.
Oh, okay.
So when the Predator screams, everybody freaks out, and then Billy's like sitting there all ominous, like dazed off and looking into the distance. And this other dude named Poncho, he's like another one of the crew members, and he's talking to Billy, and he's like, "What's wrong, Billy? What are you thinking?" And he's like, "I'm scared, Poncho." And he's like, "Bullshit, you ain't afraid of no man." and then Billy's like, "There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man. We're all gonna die."
Yeah, and then he just walks out.
Yeah, it's just like,
that is
thank-
pretty good.
Thanks, Billy. And then yeah,
Thanks,
so
Billy. Did
yeah.
someone say that?
No,
Oh,
I
okay,
just,
you're just
that's
saying
just like the whole general attitude. You can see it on the look on everybody's face. So then what they do is they're camping out for the night, I think. And
Well, they don't camp yet. Because it's all in. This all happens in 24 hours.
Or no, because Mac's staring up at the moon. And
He does. Yeah, they do say you go first or something like that.
Because they're just camping for the night. They're on their way to the rendezvous point, and they're just like, so Mac's taking first watch, and he's staring at the moon, talking to himself.
Because he's supposed to be talking to Jesse's character.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, because they were like really good friends, and they'd go on missions together and stuff all the time. And so they set up all these traps with like fireworks and C4 and all these claymores and stuff. And something sets off the traps, and then everything's going crazy. And then you see Mac with a knife, and he's just stabbing at something. Turns out it's just this wild boar. and then eventually, Jesse the Body Ventura's body, they have it. They're taking it back with them. But then when they come back, his body's gone. And the girl's freaking out. She's afraid. And they're like, why didn't she try to run? And Arnold's like, dude, she's freaking out. Like, she's afraid. She's terrified. And then after that is when they start talking, because I think something happens in the morning, like during the day. I can't remember exactly what it is, but then he grabs her and he's like, okay, no more bullshit. Like, tell me what's going on. It turns out
no more bullshit.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Turns out she speaks English because Carl Weathers has been trying to get her to say, like, in Spanish what she's been saying. And then eventually she's just like, okay, like, it came out of the woods, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when they do the whole thing where it's like,
if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah. Oh, you must have wounded it. Its blood was on the leaves. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah. And then that's when they do Traps Montage Part 1, where they start setting up all these traps.
This is the group montage.
Yes. And then I put next to that Solid Muscle because it is like literally just like,
baby,
2 or 3 minutes of Arnold, this Indian dude, and Carl Weathers pulling on
and
like
Mac is still around.
Oh yeah, and then Mac he's like setting up some stuff, and it's just basically them, like most of them all shirtless, pulling on ropes and setting up like blocks of wood
in the
things.
Blistering heat of just all like, sweaty jungle.
Yeah, if you're really into workout videos, I'm sure you'll probably like that one. So,
ladies.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but yeah, that's essentially where they're setting all their traps and stuff, and they're getting ready to try to take the predator down.
So speaking of, a little bit after that, they show at the hour and 2-minute mark is there's a scene where Mac has a razor for some weird reason.
Yeah, he's obsessed with shaving. Yeah, because he was shaving on the helicopter on their way there.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's like his habitual habit, and he was shaving when they
breaks the thing on his cheek after. I'm like, dude, you actually cut yourself, man.
Yeah, I think they show him shaving like 2 or 3 times in the movie because he was shaving before they went to the guerrilla camp too, I think.
And then at an hour and 7-minute mark, we see Predator full front shot for the first time.
And I put pose, motherfucker.
Pose,
yeah, because he does the coolest pose. He's jumping from tree to tree. He swings around this run tree, and he just grabs it with one arm, looks, and then uninvisible, invisible. And then he's just gone. It was just like, sweet.
And then at a hour and 11-minute mark, we get kill number 3.
Okay, yeah. Is this where? So this is like where Mac and Dylan are in pursuit.
Yes, and this is where Dylan, which is one of the coolest things ever for like violence, I guess. He gets his arm shot off, and then his arm is this rubbery bit, and it just goes, good.
Firing the gun.
So shooting.
Yeah, because him and Mac are essentially like. When they see Predator for the first time, Mac's freaking out, and he's like, "Okay, I got you." So he starts running after him.
He's not. Carl Weathers is not the 3rd kill. He's the 4th kill.
Yeah, Mac's the 3rd
kill. Mac's the 4th kill,
So yeah, because Mac runs after Predator, Dylan chases after Mac, and he tells Arnold, and Poncho gets hit by one of the traps, so he like breaks all of his ribs, and so him and Billy and the girl are all trying to take Poncho, and they're trying to get back to the helicopter, and so Mac is chasing after Predator, Dylan's chasing after Mac. And they're running through the jungle. Mac's freaking out and going crazy. And then eventually, the Predator tries to trick Dylan using the voices that he learned.
Hey, over here.
and then Dylan ends up, or not Dylan, but Mac ends up grabbing him and pulling him down and keeping him quiet.
Dude, that was actually like a pretty intense scene of like when Mac grabs Dylan, he's like, hey.
Yeah, because he's
look,
right over there through them trees.
Through them trees.
I love how he says that.
Do you see it? He's like,
oh, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
I'm going to go right around.
Yeah.
And then he leaves him.
I'll go around the other way to flush him towards
you.
And then, it's
through them trees.
Yeah, so Mac's crawling through the jungle all like serpent-like. And then all of a sudden these 3 little lights show up on his arm. So then he turns to look at the lights, and then when the lights are on his head, the predator blows his brains out.
Yes, it's just blam.
Destroys his skull. Absolutely blows it apart.
Yeah.
And it's really funny too because we'll get
yeah, very funny.
Yeah, well, I mean the irony of that
okay.
particular kill, I guess. We'll get to that here because I did take a note about something a little bit later.
So, do you have anything else on Carl Weathers' death?
Well, yeah. Then basically, it's just Dylan like sees Max dead when he gets to his point of contact, and then Predator kind of ambushes him real quick, blows his arm off, and then his arm falls onto the ground and does that rubbery gun shooting thing. And then he does this thing where he like whips around, pulls his other gun off, starts shooting it, and then Predator just comes and stabs him and lifts him up like 10 feet. And this is my favorite part because they did 3 loud screams in a row. It says Apollo Creed loses arm and stabbed, loud scream.
Creed.
So then when the other group hears him scream, they're running across this like log over a river, and Billy just stops.
Yep.
And then he goes like full Indian, okay? Starts taking off all of his clothes. He pulls out his fucking machete, cuts his chest all the way across.
Yeah, this is at an hour and 15-minute mark because this is Billy's death at number 5.
Yeah, and so Billy's standing there on a tree waiting for the Predator. He's all badass and stuff. And then it goes back to Arnold's character, and then you hear, yeah! It's like loud scream number 2.
And then at an hour and 16-minute mark, we get kill number 6.
Yep, Poncho shot down.
And then also at that time, you hear the "Get to the chopper, go!"
One of the most iconic lines from the movie because that basically it's hit Arnold and the girl left. Arnold gets shot in the arm or the shoulder, like he gets grazed. He doesn't get like wounded to the point where he can't use his arm anymore, or maybe he shot his vest and didn't actually pierce flesh. I don't know what happened, but he's able to use his arm. And then when he falls, he's just like, go, run, get to the chopper, you know?
Yeah.
And then Arnold gets chased by the Predator, and he ends up falling into a waterfall or big pond.
He's rolling down the hill like that scene from
Kung Pao.
Kung Pao.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, shit, and then he slips off. And by the camera falling off, that camera looked like it was about to go and just hit the dirt at the bottom. Like there was no way he was actually gonna make it into the water, but somehow Arnold makes it into the water.
Yeah, it was like they were tossing the camera for somebody to catch it down on the bottom.
And then Arnold is in this like river sort of thing, and then it goes down a waterfall after that.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And then he ends up at the end crawling up on this mud patch like lagoon shoreline. And did you notice he slaps his face right into the mud? Like it's so weird because he crawls up and he's not in the mud, and then he just kind of goes plop right into the mud.
I didn't notice that part.
Yeah, I thought it was so funny because I had always wondered like how he got the mud on him.
Yeah, he's just slopping himself around in the mud. That's what he's doing.
It's just such a strange thing. And then you see a splash behind him, and Predator lands behind him, right? And then so he turns around, freaks out, and he's crawling up, and he like crawls up into this little like under root thing of a tree, and he's like blending in because he's covered in mud, right?
Yeah.
So then the Predator's all like, cool Predator reveal shot. He crawls out of the water, and then his suit malfunctions, so he can no longer go invisible.
Yeah, this is. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Never mind.
Oh,
sorry.
And so he's looking around for Arnold, notices like something in the woods there, and he shoots at it, and it turns out just to be like a possum in a tree or something. The Predator fucking kicks the log over.
It's a swamp rat.
Yeah, the Predator is so pissed.
Yeah,
he's just like, and he kicks the log, and he's just like, and then he just walks off, and then Arnold like gets the mud, and he's just like, he couldn't see me.
Well, he didn't say. Did he say that, or did he?
Yeah, he whispers it. He's just like, he couldn't see me or whatever.
Couldn't see me.
Yeah, and so that was pretty cool. And I wrote for that note, I put mud, camo, realization, determination. Because
I just wrote Predator passing hitting Arnold.
Yeah, because the reason why I wrote that was because that's when it goes into traps montage number 2.
Yeah.
Because this one's all Arnold, and he's setting up all these Boy Scout traps and all these pitfalls and things, and he's putting together bows and arrows and all that kind of stuff.
He's essentially making a Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, for the Predator, because this is when we find out that the Predator, what the whole Predator is doing, and essentially he's hunting for trophies. And like my whole understanding of because the Predator, the name of their species is the Yautja, if I remember correctly. I think the name of the planet's the same. It's just Yautja Prime or something like that. But their whole civilization, their whole species is a hunter based like alpha male dominated
He's in
society
the trees.
essentially.
Man,
you know?
he's like a hunter.
Yeah, and they do
say that.
yep.
Yeah, they say that in the movie.
And it's pretty cool. And
I honestly thought they were gonna mention like a predator,
Well, I was
but they never say that.
Trivia off the top of my head that I just remembered: the original title of the movie was Hunter, and then somebody was like, "That's really lame, dude." And they were like, "What about Predator?" And it was like, "Okay, that sounds cool." And then they just kept the line as Hunter. It's like a hunter or whatever.
Fun fact.
Yeah, and I remember learning about that. And so it keeps cutting back between Arnold's montage and the Predator, and so the Predator rips Billy's spine from his body, fatality, and then it goes to Arnold making bows and arrows, and then it shows the Predator lines up all of his skulls because that's their trophies as they collect skulls from various animals, and
in this like nest area he has he's made for himself.
He's like slouching up in a tree. Because predators essentially their whole goal in life is to hunt the most dangerous game and collect skulls as trophies, and so well, we'll get to that in Predator 2.
Yeah.
And then so foreshadowing. And then so he's like looking at his skulls and he picks one up and he's all admiring it, like rubbing it down and stuff. And you see there's I want to say it's Billy's skull. You see like Blaine and the glasses dude, I can't remember his name, and then I think Poncho's skull, because Poncho got shot in the head when he got killed, and there's like a big hole in one of them because it's not Mac, because Mac got shot in the front of the face. So his face was just completely gone, I think. Whereas Poncho got shot in the side of the head, and the skull that he has with the hole in it's on the side of the head. It's like this burnt hole in his brain. So I thought that was pretty cool, a little cool touch. And then we get to Loud Scream number 3, because Arnold basically launches or like declares war on the Predator, and he's covered in mud, and he's got this torch, and then he just goes, and he freaks out.
to like signal for the Predator to show up.
And the Predator's just like, what the hell? And he looks, and then
that's where it begins,
the final showdown.
But then one of my favorite parts, like, because obviously action happens in this, and then blah blah blah, this and that, and then Arnold's like crawling. I don't know. Do you have anything to say before Arnold starts crawling away?
Throughout the whole thing?
Yeah.
I just kind of took cliff notes of like what happened. It's explosives, glow in the dark, sticky blood, and then Arnold gets.
He does that like. Oh wait, no. There's that one thing.
Yeah,
because I said passing hidden Arnold. That reminds me. That wasn't what I was talking about. The mud thing. I was talking about when Arnold is covered in mud and he's hiding on that tree and he's waiting, and then all of a sudden Predator just like shows up right behind him, and you're like, and then. Because you now feel like you're Arnold, and you're just like, oh god, oh god, oh god. Like,
and he crawls past him like right next to him down the tree because he had no idea because
he doesn't, he can't see him,
and Arnold's looking at him, he's freaking out, and then as soon as he gets a moment, he swings to another tree and then like hugs it real quick,
and then he shoots these like flaming arrows like to this like explosive thing.
He took apart a couple of his grenades and made
wrapped them in banana leaves and like
made
whatever, however that works.
I was wondering that myself. Why not just wrap the grenade pellet to the thing?
Well, that's not how bullets work.
But I suppose, well, because he shot it into a fire, so I was
okay. I guess that works then.
I was wondering if I don't really know, but essentially he was setting the Predator up. He shoots at the Predator, and then the Predator actually gets one over on him because after they fight for a minute or two, he wounds the Predator, and then he follows the blood. And then he follows it into this like little cave thing, and then it stops. The trail stops, and then Arnold realizes, "Oh crap, I've been set up." Because then you start seeing blood drip behind him, and the Predator jumps down, and then so Arnold has like one more grenade, and he lights it off, and he crawls out of this little hole or whatever. And then let's see here.
Well, because there's this part where Arnold's like crawling onto the ground, and he gets on this log, like he feels like he got away, and then all of a sudden you see this like. Shing, and his like thing just goes right between, like his head is like right between his knives.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh,
he's
that's
got
so
this
cool.
Retractable Wolverine like blade on his arm.
Yeah, but it's just two. It's like, what's her name? But anyway, it's just two things.
Yeah, X-23 or whatever. It's like the girl's blades. It's only two, but it comes out the top of his arm, kind of like Baraka in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, because they're not in him; they're an actual weapon. So
And so yeah, he just basically puts the blade around Arnold's head, and he doesn't kill him right away because essentially to the Predator, it's like, oh, this is like prime game. He's putting up a fight, so I'm not going to kill him right away. Instead, the Predators have this ritual where when they essentially find somebody who can hold their own against them, they take off all their equipment and fight.
Which is
like,
at an
hand to
hour
hand.
and 35 minutes, we see the true face
Yeah.
of Predator.
And
then at 1 hour and 35 minutes, do you want to say this line?
Oh, yeah. So the Predator takes off his mask, which is an awesome scene, by the way, because I love how, he detaches all these hoses.
Okay, am I
stuff.
the only one that likes the sound of him taking it
No,
off?
I love it. Absolutely love it.
I don't even know how to make the sound, but it's like that leather of like pulling it off.
The entire scene, that's like other than the medical scene, it's my second favorite scene in the movie because then too the way he grips his mask like you're doing, he like flattens his hands out,
like spaces
the entire
all
mask.
of his fingers, and then he like pulls it off.
It's so cool.
And then
and then Arnold looks at him and he goes, "You're one ugly motherfucker."
And you're one ugly motherfucker.
And then the Predator gets pissed. And he just like basically screams at him. They get into a fisticuff because right before he takes off his mask, he lifts Arnold up against like a wall, and he's like inspecting his skull for like essentially his trophy, and he's like, okay, this one's like worth it. So that's essentially what kind of like determines whether or not he wants to take off all of his gear and stuff. So the Predator actually doesn't see in heat vision; he sees in infrared. The mask is what sees in heat vision.
Yeah,
and the mask I guess too has like multiple different visions, which you find that out like in games and in later movies and stuff. But
then a couple minutes later, at 1 hour and 38 minutes, we get the So Arnold has, or his character, what was his character? Dutch has they're almost where his main trap was, like under this little bridge area, and so Dutch is crawling through these things so not to trigger it, so that the Predator would follow him into it. Yeah, and this is the moment
of fling him up into some knives. Or something like that.
Because he has like all these jagged pieces of wood just sitting up there, so that it pulls him up, or no, that falls on top of him and like snaps him like a bear trap. But it would actually like snap onto his whole entire body essentially. Right. And then but this is where we get the come on, do it! Come on, kill me!
Yeah, because he like crawls in, and the Predator stops following him, and he's just
because
he
knows. He's like, why does he want me to come in there now?
The Predator's a hunter himself. He knows what he's doing. Then
so he walks around
and do it, kill me! I'm right here, kill me! I love it.
And then so Predator walks around the trap to then like stand there. And then, but that doesn't stop Arnold or Dutch from making his final kill. He like sees the little peg that's holding this giant stump, like Ewok setup looking thing that he has, and then kicks it, and then the stump falls down and just crushes Predator.
Yeah, directly on top. Like it like hits him right in the head.
Yeah,
it was, and I wonder if like when they did that scene, if that was like a body double dummy, or
they probably set up like a rubber dummy and then it slammed on him, and then they sped it up so that it looked like it slammed on him.
Yeah, because the way it looks like it hurts really bad. Like it looked like it made an impact, and so if somebody was in that costume and that was really heavy or somewhat heavy, it probably would have broken a neck.
So
but, it gets crushed by that.
A couple minutes later, at an hour and 40 minutes. Predator starts laughing like a fucking psychopath.
Oh, well, first when
you got a little bit more?
Yeah, because when Arnold goes up, when Arnold realizes that he's not dead, he sees the log moving.
Oh, yeah,
and he picks up a big stone.
And then he hears the deep.
Well, before that, he picks up a big stone like he's going to crush his skull, but then he sees Predator spitting up blood, and he's basically dead anyway. And then he goes, "What the hell are you?" And then the Predator goes, "What the hell are you?"
Oh, he actually says? He says that?
Because he's like imitating the language still, and so he like speaks this weird language, and so Arnold throws the rock down because he feels sorry for him, and then that's when he starts doing the self-destruct.
Yeah, and then he starts laughing like Billy.
Yeah.
And and that's scary, like what the fuck? And then and so then
it's like a nuclear explosion.
Yeah, and then Dutch is just running and jumping over things,
running through the jungle.
And then there's like this like I don't know, like small star explosion that happens on there.
It's like if it was like a mini nuke in like Fallout. It was like maybe enough to take down like a small city block essentially. But yeah, because the predators, the way their society also works is if they find something that they're hunting and it's able to basically fatally wound them or if not kill them, then they will go into essentially
Self-destruct.
yeah, it's like an honor. They don't want to be killed, so they'll self-destruct, and they have this little pin pad on their arm
which
or
would
whatever.
because they feel as if you're going to do the same thing to them.
Yeah.
So in order for you to still lose,
Yeah,
they kill themselves, which means you didn't get the
it's
kill.
like
They got the kill.
harakiri or whatever, like they do in Japan
But the one thing that was
self-sacrifice.
really cool is you mentioned earlier about the helicopters flying in. At the end of the movie, the helicopter flies out, and that's how the movie ends.
Oh right, yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool because like as soon as because it's almost the same shot
Mhm.
except now the helicopters because when Arnold gets picked up
Yeah.
and the girl is there,
it's just him and the girl.
Yeah, and the rest of the general guy is on there.
Yeah, the
that
general
sent them into
yes,
the thing.
Yes.
But yeah, that was but that movie ends with the helicopter flying out
Yeah.
of frame towards the sunset. As
And
opposed
Dutch is just covered in crap. And I wasn't sure when it zoomed in on Dutch's face, it looked like he shed a tear from his left eye. I've never noticed that
I don't know.
before.
I didn't
But
see that.
I kind of want to go back and check it again because it looked like he was crying, like that basically he survived and all of his friends died.
Yeah.
And because they were like a covert op mission group for however long they were prior to this. You don't really get too much background information on them, but you know they're all great friends because of the way they banter with one another and the way they talk, because they're picking on Carl Weathers' character the entire time that he's there because he's kind of the outcast. He only knows Dutch and nobody else.
Yeah.
And so they're constantly like, that's why the one guy's like, oh, I'll bleed you if you give away our position.
I don't
again,
care
you know?
what general you
Yeah.
you a general now.
I love it.
I cut you till you bleed.
Yeah, I love it. Mac is so cool.
Oh man. Yeah, I will say this is actually, in my opinion, I don't know if we'll ever get to more Arnold movies, but I thought this was like one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's best movies.
Oh,
I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger movies,
It
and even some people have said like, "Is it better than you think he's better than Terminator and whatnot?" And like, I don't know. I will
It's-
have to see that if we ever go to Terminator.
yeah,
but
because
but
it's a really
for
close
now.
call because he's got three. There's three movies that I think of when I think of Arnold.
Kindergarten Cop, Last Action Hero.
Oh, sorry.
and-
I thought I was gonna say I thought we were talking about action.
No, I
movies.
was
like,
joking.
Oh, okay. Because Kindergarten Cop's good. Don't get me wrong.
No,
but I would,
Last Action
that's-
Hero is good.
but that's definitely a comedy in my eyes. Like as far as action,
both
Arnold,
of those are comedy.
I would think
Boys
so.
have penises and girls have vaginas.
Such a good movie.
Oh
it-
man.
So it's the Terminator series, or the first two. I mean, he's good in the other Terminators because he's Arnold, but the Terminator movies, obviously weren't as good. The latter half, because James Cameron wasn't involved. But I heard that he was supposed to be making another one.
We'll
and,
see. Well, if we
so-
ever get to that, maybe that might
Yeah.
be one.
And then Predator, and then the other one is the one that he did with Ray Dong Chong.
That's a made up name.
No, it's Tommy Chong's daughter. God, what was it? Commando. Commando's the other one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, have you ever seen Commando?
Oh,
Oh
he
my
was
God.
also in Conan.
Oh, I forgot about Conan.
Yeah.
Dude.
But he
and
says like 3 words in that whole
right,
movie.
yeah, Conan in New York, which he can't even speak English because he was
Conan in New York?
Yeah, because
What?
when Arnold's first movie was, I believe, Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
And then Conan in New York was another one, and he didn't speak like any English in either one of those movies. So he only had like 3 lines in both movies. And in Conan in New York, he sees like a car.
I have
or
never
something.
heard of this movie before.
Yeah, and he points at it and he goes, "Chariot with no horse."
Oh my
It's
god.
ridiculous. And then after that, he started learning English, and then he was in a movie called Red Sonja. Have you ever seen that? It's essentially the girl version of Conan, but he's like the guy who's like the sidekick. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a couple other characters. There's a dude in it who has a giant femur for a weapon. It's like it's like a dinosaur bone. It's really weird. And then he's got
We almost can make a season off of Arnold movies in
Oh,
their
for
own
sure,
right.
yeah,
Okay,
because
well,
I-
anyway, so but tying it back to Predator because I
Yeah.
don't want to get too far off here. But yeah, I definitely think this is one of Arnold's best performances because he had way more lines than I've ever heard him in a movie.
Oh,
before.
yeah.
And so like, and especially in the 80s, like
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't very many of those.
Yeah, and even for an ensemble cast, he was like quite the focal point. You know, like you could tell he's the main character, and because like they're focusing on the cast like as they go through, but Arnold's got a majority of the screen time. Like him and Carl Weathers are
Yeah,
basically the
because
main two
what Rocky
characters.
probably came out like really close to then, right?
Well, Rocky 1 came out in 77, and then Rocky 5 I think came out in 85. So the Rocky, yeah, he was coming off like the fame of the Rock. I think Rocky 4 came out in like 83. Because that's the one that
76
was Rocky 3.
was Rocky,
Oh, okay.
and then
I
Rocky
was
3
off
was
by a
82.
year. Oh, okay. I'm off by a year on all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then Rocky 5 came out in 84, I think, or
So wait, what'd you say?
did
Rocky 4,
Rocky 5 come out in 84?
Rocky 5. I'm trying to look at just his IMDb page, and
He's not in Rocky 5. He died in number 4.
yeah. Okay. So,
It doesn't matter. We'll eventually probably get to the Rocky
Yeah, well-
movies because that's a whole series in and of itself. We could make a whole season on the Rocky movies
Yeah.
because with Creed 2, that makes a total of 8 movies.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because it's Rocky 1 through 5, Rocky Balboa, Creed 1 and 2, and then I'm assuming that Creed's probably going to go on for another 2 or 3. I would be really shocked if Creed doesn't have 5 volumes to it, because it's essentially the passing of the torch, you know, because like now Rocky is Mickey, and Creed has taken over. Young Adonis Creed has taken over Rocky's spot as like the young up and comer fighter.
Uh-huh.
So I can imagine that there's going to be at least 2 or 3 more movies. Because I bet you right now that in the third Creed movie, when they do make it, because I hear that the second one's excellent, the first one was fantastic, that Rocky's going to die in that one, like Mickey died in the third one, paralleling the 2 movies, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they don't make any more after that, I would be fine, because it'd be Rocky's story's like officially over, and Adonis can go do whatever he's going to do. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here.
But okay, so I let you keep going because I was doing something.
Oh,
over here.
okay.
So we have entered in what I like to call, this is a new segment, and I didn't run this by you, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Here we go.
Okay.
This is the IMDb corner,
Oh,
and this is where I'm gonna go down
The,
a couple trivia
random
here.
trivia. Okay.
Yeah. So here's one, and I've organized this based on top votes.
Oh, okay.
So if it's based on, there's also a section that's called interesting. So you can organize them by interesting.
It's like not necessarily trivia. Maybe it's just kind of random.
Yeah, I don't know. So this
they
is
used a
based
45
on.
millimeter camera or
Yeah.
something like that.
So I'm gonna do 10 of these because there's 191. And
Oh
I'm gonna read
damn!
them all.
Yeah, let's just do the top 10.
So here's one of them. This had 963 upvote, or 963 of 972 found this interesting. Jesse Ventura was delighted to find out from the wardrobe department that his arms were 1 inch bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger's.
Oh my god!
He suggested to Schwarzenegger that they measure arms, with the winner getting a bottle of champagne. Ventura lost because Schwarzenegger had told the wardrobe department to tell Ventura that his arms were bigger.
Damn, that's cool.
So awesome. That's so awesome.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah, cause like seriously, so many of those guys were so like beefed up, dude. Like Arnold, Carl Weathers.
Well, Jesse was still doing 'cause WWF at that point,
I
right?
think so. Yeah, because he didn't stop wrestling until like the late '90s.
Yeah.
When he became like into politics and stuff. And then
Oh, that's right. He went and he was governor. Both of them were governor. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And then who else was? Oh, and then Billy, the Indian dude, was like ripped. And then even Poncho and the other guy were like pretty ripped, even though they were smaller dudes.
Yeah,
but
they were just,
like they were pretty cut.
Yeah,
you
I'd
know?
say cut. Yeah. The film. So this was 516 of 519 found this interesting. The film provided a variety of hardships for the actors, such as leeches, snakes. What is this? Humidity, heat, and rough terrain. All of the night scenes were filmed during freezing cold temperatures, which was especially hard on Arnold Schwarzenegger during the later half of the film, when the mud he had to wear, actually pottery clay, became cold and wet. He was warned.
Yeah.
He was warned it would make his body temperature down a few degrees, and he shaved nonstop, even when they tried to heat him with lamps. It just made the clay dry out. He tried drinking ginger tea. I don't know what that is. What is that? There's like, what is that?
Jaeger tea.
Oh, Jaeger tea.
Yeah, I think that's.
And schnapps mixture to warm him. But that just got him drunk.
Oh, okay. It's probably like some kind of form of Jägermeister.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
Or that's probably what's in Jägermeister, I would assume. Because I think Jägermeister's made from like a root that's like similar to black licorice or something. That's why it's got that flavor.
So this is number 3 on the list. After Dutch impales a bad guy against a wooden post with his machete, he utters the immortal one-liner, "Stick around."
Yeah.
This was apparently improvised by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Maybe that's why he smiles when he says
yeah,
it.
he does have that shit-eating grin.
Yeah,
on
he's
his
just like, oh, that was a great line, and it went on to become super iconic.
Yeah, 390 of 397 found it interesting. I don't know where these numbers are being based on. Oh, okay, here we go. This is number 4. Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally
There you
cast to
go,
play the
yep.
Predator. The item being that the physical action star would use his martial arts to make the Predator more agile, ninja hunter-like. He was dropped for being too short at 5'9".
Oh.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and his team are bodybuilders who are between 6'2" and 6'5". Additionally, it was reported that Van Damme constantly complained about the monster suit being too hot,
There we go, yeah.
causing him to pass out. Woof.
Okay, yeah,
He
because I knew
also-
he didn't like the suit.
Yeah, he also allegedly voiced his reservations on numerous occasions regarding the fact that he would not be appearing on camera without the suit. Additionally, the original design of the Predator was felt to be too cumbersome and difficult to manage in the jungle, and even with a more imposing actor, he was felt to not provoke enough fear. Van Damme was removed from the film and replaced by Kevin Peter Hall.
Which I think is the dude who plays. Will you check and see if he plays Chewbacca?
Okay.
Or well, I can look that up real
Yeah.
quick while you're on that page. 'Cause I
Um,
just want to see.
This one's number 5. I'm not going to read the numbers anymore. Apparently, they don't mean shit. So, number 5 is the original concept of the film originated as a joke. Someone said
he
that.
played the Sasquatch from Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh,
That's
okay,
what it
okay,
was.
okay. Someone said that the only person Rocky Balboa had yet to fight was E.T. the extraterrestrial,
Nah.
and thus began Predator.
Oh, that's where is that where Shane Black got the idea?
I guess so. I guess so. The
Okay.
original concept of the film was originally a joke.
That's funny.
Number 6, Arnold Schwarzenegger recommended Jesse Ventura for Blaine. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
After interviewing him for the role, he thought he looked the part, was big enough, had a deep voice, and was manly.
Yeah, a sexual tyrannosaurus.
A sexual tyrannosaurus. Number 7, according to an interviewer with director John McTiernan, who is not the writer, the quote hole in the jungle end quote appearance of the Predator was played by Jean-Claude Van Damme in a blue screen, and it's actually red. Blue screen suit, actually red suit. Van Damme quit after 2 days, unhappy with being cast. Sorry, I lost my spot because something popped up. Unhappy with being cast as the uncredited special effect, but can be seen as Predator if it bleeds, we can kill it. The maker of Predator, that was in 2001, the alien was scrapped, redesigned, and was eventually played by Kevin Peter Hall, who was 7'2" tall. 7 feet 2.
Damn, that guy's tall.
Number 8, Peter Cullen was reluctant to take the job of voicing the Predator.
And that's Optimus Prime, in case you don't know.
As he injured his throat playing the title character of King Kong in 1976, but eventually accepted after seeing a picture of the unmasked creature.
Nice.
So as soon as he saw the unmasked creature, he was like, I'm gonna play it now.
So he must have been the one who did the "What the hell are you" line at the very end when when
Oh,
the
probably,
Predator was
yeah.
unmasked.
And the laugh.
And the
The laugh is him too.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's Optimus Prime's laugh.
yeah,
Man, that's crazy.
yeah, dude. Peter Cullen's got the coolest voice ever.
Number 9, body count: 69 humans, most of them at the hands of Dutch.
Yeah,
Dutch.
They annihilated
One
that
scorpion,
village.
one boar, and one predator. And lastly, number 10, Arnold Schwarzenegger lost over 25 pounds before filming began in order to better fit the role of a special warfare operative who would be lean as well as muscular. So not just totally ripped.
Yeah,
So he prepared himself to lose a little bit of weight so that he wasn't just yoked. He was actually like able to look like a regular guy.
Yeah, because he didn't look like the bodybuilder Arnold. Like you can tell when he was in.
That's
his, like,
Conan. If you want to see bodybuilder Arnold, you go watch Conan.
Yeah, like early Arnold and like maybe like a little bit later in life Arnold, up until like when he got into politics, he was like bodybuilder because he stepped back from the movie scene like in the late 90s, I want to say, like after Last Action Hero and a couple other movies, he like True Lies and a couple others, he was like, oh, okay, like I'm going to take a break from acting, and then he started getting back into like fitness training, and he was doing a lot of stuff with kids. And then he got into politics, and then all of his like personal life stuff that happened over the past like 10 years. But yeah, his early career, he was still like Mr. Universe, and so he was just completely like almost looked like he was roided out how big he was. And then he started losing weight for all these movie roles because they were like, dude, you're just too big.
So I'm gonna add one little other segment that we got here because we got a little bit of time. We just hit I think a little bit over an hour. This is called taglines. Taglines are lines that represent the movie that they may have put on like posters or they used for some bit of advertisement. And there's only a couple here, so I'm just going to read them off, and they're pretty short. Number 1 here is, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah.
Number 2, nothing like it has ever been on this earth before.
I want to say that's the one that I have on my DVD cover.
Okay. Number 3 is, it came for the thrill of the hunt. It picked the wrong man to hunt.
Oh my
god. Let's see here. This is number 4. Wait. Sorry. I think the last one was number 3. Did I say number 3? I may have said number 4.
I don't know.
Anyway, this one's number 4. This is the next one. They're not really numbered. The next one says, soon the hunt will begin. The next one says, nothing like it has ever been on this earth before. It came from another planet for the thrill of the hunt. It picked the wrong man. So there's that one. So that's a little bit more of a colliding of some of them. The next one says, this one's a little bit longer. In a part of the world where there are no rules, deep in the jungle where nothing that lives is safe. An elite rescue squad is being led by the ultimate warrior. But now they're up against the ultimate enemy. Nothing like it has ever been on this earth before. It kills for pleasure. It hunts for sport. But this time, it picked the wrong man to hunt.
Damn. That's a long-ass tagline.
Yeah, I think that's like the box cover. The next one says, we can't see it, but it sees the heat of our bodies and the heat of our fear.
Oh, my God.
And the last one says, in this movie, Arnold will experience every meaning of the word. Pain.
Says Rob Stryker of USA Today.
Oh man! Release date was June 12th, 1987, in the U.S. and Mexico.
Damn, that was just before my 4th birthday.
Wow, I was not even close.
Yeah, you're still like 10 years from even being like a thought.
Let's check out the box office here. The budget was estimated at $15 million. Opening weekend was $12,031,638 in the U.S.
Not too bad.
But it grossed $59 million, $59,735,548 to be precise.
And that's like 80s dollars, so I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know what the
inflation,
conversion is.
But it's definitely grown a cult following because it's a good movie, obviously, but over the years, just like now that it's so old at this point, like it's the 30-year-old movie, so generations now probably don't even know what it is. Like the first one, they probably know what Predators are because there's been a couple Predator movies in the past like 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
but but the first movie, a lot of people probably still haven't seen it and don't know how good it is.
Well, I will say
So-
I have not seen it all the way through until when
this
I
was your
watched it.
first time watching
all the way through.
Oh, wow.
Because it was always on like TNT or TBS, and
Oh,
you'd catch
okay.
like the last half of it, or the come on, like
yeah, you just catch the main lines or
so.
something. And it's not as good on TV because it's all censored and
Yeah,
stuff, so you
yeah.
don't get all the good cuss words.
Come on, you mother lover! Come on,
Yeah.
kill me!
Yeah.
No, there's actually some cool stuff that I didn't know IMDb does, but they have technical specs. So for you techie nerds, I mean, you're listening to a movie podcast, so I'll throw out this little information. Runtime is about 1 hour and 47 minutes. Sound mix is 77. Oh man, I'm not gonna know these ones, so I'm just gonna say 6 track. Dolby stereo at 35 Prince 4-channel.
I think it's millimeter.
Millimeter. I don't know, because like millimeter is usually like film, right? So that's or
Well-
maybe
well,
it's the recording thing.
I
don't know.
think it's like the record size or something,
maybe
or the
maybe.
track. Thing
It was filmed in color.
Yeah.
The aspect ratio is 1.85 to 1. I don't know what that means. Cameras, a lot of them. I'm not gonna read that one. Laboratory was in Deluxe, Hollywood, in the USA. Negative format was 35 millimeter film, so it was shot on 35 millimeter film and then printed on 35 millimeter film and then blown up to 70 millimeter film for that. So I don't know, some more cool stuff. I didn't know how deep IMDb goes. That's about as far as they go on that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
So now we come to our thing.
All right.
Is we're gonna
yeah,
start
okay.
a new thing.
I was like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
where we are going to rank.
Here, I should actually put this in my notes so that way I don't forget.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
put it in here too.
I'll put it at the bottom because I put here after after the explosion and then when they were flying away, I just put Choppa Finn. So I'll put my final rating here, and then what are we rating this out of? Like,
So
10,
I didn't
or-
think. I don't.
Or
So
are
we can
gonna
do it one
like,
of two ways. We can do it based on numbers, or we can just do it based on the movies that we've seen. So like we can obviously this one's gonna be like on the number one right now. So
oh, that's right.
yeah,
Are-
or we can give it numbers, whatever you want to do.
Are we gonna do it? Okay. Well, first, are we gonna do this season by season?
I think that okay. So this is how I'm thinking it's gonna go. We would rate the champion of the season.
Okay.
So right now it's the Alien Predator movies, or I guess Predator and then Alien movies.
Yeah.
So whichever
one,
one-
we're watching these in theoretical chronological
Yeah.
order, based on the way the movie timelines work.
Yeah, and I'll give you guys the URL website too, so that you guys can look it up. And then we would have an overall champion that would continue even after the season's over.
Oh, okay. So essentially, we'll pick our champion. We'll like rank the.
We're gonna
movie,
rank all of the movies,
But are we ranking them with numbers or just like okay,
just based on this one's better than this one.
Oh, okay. So currently, right now, like
Predator would
Predator
be
would
the
be
number one,
default
yeah.
winner because it's the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Predator
So-
so far.
Here, I'll just put King for one episode so far.
Well,
Here, no, hold on. I'm gonna
we gotta come up with a title name for the season, like the season champion, and then. So you want to say we call it the King of Movies?
Well, that one can be.
Now we're like sitting here
I
trying to
didn't-
figure
I
it out.
didn't even think about that.
We'll come up with a clever name after this. So
yeah.
right now, Predator, because obviously there's nothing to competition of it.
Yeah,
So-
there's nothing to compare it to. So, we
So
might as
the
well just
winner of the
figure that out
season
later.
so far is Predator. Is the
Yeah.
best movie we've seen so
Yeah,
far.
Our first, it's like our first competitor. Essentially, it's kind of like a little tournament.
Yeah. And then it also is leading the best movie. So it's the best movie we ever saw and the best movie of the season so far.
Yeah.
Because of season 1, which again, like I said, is going to contain more movies than just this. So-
Yeah, and then keep in mind, folks, that this is pertaining to the show because obviously, Predator's a great movie, but it's not like my favorite,
Oh yeah,
favorite
no.
movie in
we're,
real life.
We're just basing it off
yeah,
of what
this-
we've seen
yeah.
so far.
Yeah, this is so this will be like Primal Target's favorite movie or
Yeah,
best
yeah.
movie or whatever, and then the Prime movie.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
So so Predator wins by default because it's the only movie we've watched so far.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, I think that's it. If you guys want to watch more, make sure you definitely click the subscribe button on any of these platforms that you are currently listening to this on. If you're listening over on YouTube, you guys will get 2 random videos of the past. You guys can go check out those if you want to watch more stuff from us. Click the bell button to get notified when videos get uploaded for your YouTube pleasure, as well as clicking the center subscription button so you guys subscribe to Primal Target. If you're listening on iTunes, it is available there for you if you want the audio version for Apple listeners, and Android listeners can listen to the over there on Podbean. Yeah, our next movie is going to be Predator 2.
Yeah.
And if you guys want the URL, it is, let's see here. Oh man. Oh gosh, it's a lot longer.
Can you link
I think
it?
I'm gonna drop it in the description below. You guys can go check out the link. But the next movie is Predator 2, so we will see you guys next week for Predator 2.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Good night, everybody.
Latest.